Hello, and welcome to the interview with Sidnie Jones and Mr. Stastic and Mr. Toy. Um, so, my question is, what are your daily roles as a detective?
Daily roles as a detective. Well, there's a difference between, are you familiar with like what police officers do on a daily basis?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to have patrol officers in the department. Okay, those are going to be your officers that go out, answer calls, take your initial reports, and do your traffic enforcement. Okay. Past that, you're going to have what they call either a CID unit, which is your criminal investigative division, okay, or your detectives. Okay. Your detectives' jobs are to do the follow-up on the cases. All right. So, for instance, you want to talk about kidnapping or abductees. Okay. A patrol officer is going to get the initial call on that, the initial 911 call. Okay. The patrol officer will go out there and make contact either with the victim or the witness. All right. Once they've made contact, they'll make a decision if they're going to call out a CID detective. Okay. Once the CID detective is called to the scene, all right, they'll take over the scene and they'll start the preliminary investigation at that point. That's talking to witnesses, running down leads, video surveillance, so on and so forth. And they can also call out specialized units, which would be crime scene, your CSU units, canine, to do any type of tracks. So that's pretty much it on that. Okay.
And what do you do as, like, on a daily basis as a police officer?
As a police officer, uh, for the police department, or for the sheriff's department, basically we respond to 911 calls, calls for service. It can range anywhere from motorist assist up to somebody's breaking in, to somebody's being assaulted, so forth. Then also the routine patrol, doing a deterrence type community policing, and also enforcing traffic laws.
Okay, that's amazing. And what's the type of protocol that you go through when you get like an abduction call, or like when someone says that there's been like an abduction or a missing person?
Take this one, or you want me to take it?
For the initial call, basically what's going to happen is, like you were saying, the witness or victim will contact the 911. They'll start gathering information, basically whatever the victim or witness observed at that time, relaying it to the patrol units that respond out to the location. Then we will start gaining more information on what we're seeing, basically kind of what happened.
And how do you feel emotionally, like when you take on a case like an abduction or kidnapping case?
It's a tough question. Okay. Each case is different. Okay, and officers respond to a lot of different calls. Okay, just like Sergeant Toy said, we can respond to anything from a traffic fatality up to a kidnapping, homicide. So each thing we respond to brings a different emotional burden on the officer. Okay, especially if it has anything to do with children. All right, a lot of police officers have their own children. Okay, so we have to be professional, but at the same time, it's really hard for us not to become emotionally connected to the victim. But we have to try our best not to be. Okay, we have to be there for the victim. Okay, or the parents, say the parents of the child. Okay, but at the same time, we have to do our best not to be emotionally connected. Okay, because that we have a job to do, and if we're emotional while we're doing it, it kind of clouds your judgment. Okay.
And what kind of training did you have to go through to be a detective and a police officer?
Okay, to be a detective or a police officer, it's a lot of the same training. Okay, you're going to go through what you'll do. I'll kind of run you through, from beginning to end. If you want to be a police officer, okay, you'll apply at whatever police agency that you want to go to. Say, Collin County Sheriff's Office, for instance. Once you apply to the sheriff's office, you're going to go through a series of tests and interviews. Okay, you're going to do a polygraph. You're going to go through an oral board. And once you're selected, okay, you're going to attend a regional police academy. Okay. It could be the Collin County College Police Academy. We have a lot of officers that transfer from other departments, the Dallas Police Academy, Fort Worth Police Academy. And those academies can range anywhere from 4 months, 8 to 9 months, okay, depending on the department or depending on the academy that they attend. Once you get out of the academy, you're going to go through what they call a field training process, or it's where new officers actually start learning how to be a police officer. Okay, they'll be assigned to a senior officer. Okay, and that officer's responsibility is to pretty much show them the ropes. All right. That officer will do, once after the field training, there'll probably be a probationary time that they'll be riding by themselves, and then after probation, they can start applying to specialized units, K9, SWAT, CID, okay? And each one of those specialized units have their own set of training and requirements, okay, in specialized schools that you're going to have to attend. If you do choose the career path of being a detective, you'll have to go to specialized interview classes. There's schools there's a state licensing board called TCOL, okay, and there's a certain number of hours of training that you're required to have before becoming a detective. Now, even before you even get into the spot of detective, you have to interview for that position, okay. So you'll have to sit in front of a board of 3 to 5 other officers, usually other detectives and supervisors, and they're going to select the best qualified applicant for that position. Okay, and then you'll go kind of start all over again, back in like field training as a detective. You'll be assigned probably to a senior detective who's going to kind of show you the ropes of being how to be a detective, how to file cases, how to file warrants, so on and so forth.
Okay. How many hours does it take for a call to be categorized as a missing persons versus an abduction call?
Well, a missing person and abduction call are two completely separate calls. Okay, we can get a call from police dispatch. Say you call in and do you have a brother or sister? Mm-hmm. Okay, say your brother didn't come home. Okay, at first that's just going to be a missing person. It's going to be handled as a missing person, not an abduction. Okay, because there's no evidence to prove that it's an abduction. He could be at his friend's house. He could, went to a game after school. And that happens a lot more than what an actual abduction would occur. Okay, so your patrol officers, once they arrive on scene, they'll start running down the leads. Okay, they'll start talking to the parents. See if has he ever done this before? Start talking to friends. See what route they took home from school. And once it becomes apparent that, okay, he's not at a friend's house, he's not, he didn't go to a game after school, he didn't go somewhere, he's not somewhere else, he just didn't tell his parents, okay? Now we're going to start treating this, not even as an abduction yet, okay, but, we'll file a missing persons case, okay, we'll go to CID. This is when they're going to start issuing you what they call Amber Alerts, all right, which are your statewide notifications of either a missing child, okay? And then when it becomes an abduction is when we have evidence to say that it is an abduction, okay? For instance, we get a call to us, from 911 saying, there's a young boy walking home from school. The witness saw a car pull up next to the young boy, say, white Crown Vic, whatever, and pull the kid into the car. That is cut and dry as an abduction, okay, and it will be treated as that. We'll put a BOLO. A BOLO is a be on the lookout for, okay, a BOLO out on the vehicle, which will probably be a regional BOLO. Say it happens here in McKinney, it'll get sent to McKinney, Allen, Frisco, pretty much anywhere in Collin County and the neighboring counties. So if any officers see that vehicle, they know to stop the vehicle. So, and that's how an abduction is handled.
Okay.
Anything else?
So the Amber Alert goes to abduction, not the missing person.
Right.
Unless you have mental deficiency.
Making a mental deficiency for the Amber Alert.
What happens, like in a case of like a child is abducted, what happens after the child is found?
What are you asking me?
Like after the child has been abducted, it wasn't like a family situation, it was just they've been abducted by a random pedophilist or sexual predator, and do they come back home, or do they have to like go through a certain program or stay somewhere, or do they go back home?
It depends. I mean, the worst case would probably be that they're found out of state, have to go with Child Protective Services for a while, then probably go through some counseling and so forth. Depending on how long they were abducted, what happened, there's tons of factors that could go along with that, so I can't really say what would happen during, but the worst would probably be if they had to go to Child Protective Services and go through counseling.
What do you suggest that people like take like to avoid like being abducted, like generally, like what should they look out for, like the surroundings, so they won't be like possibly caught in the situation? Like, should they be with friends, or should they hang out like after school, or should they?
It's actually pretty simple. You know, criminals are going to go after somebody that they can take advantage of. Okay, if you make yourself a hard target, they're going to move on to somebody else. Okay, and by making yourself a hard target is going to be, traveling with friends. Don't be walking out late at night. If you do go out to the bar with your friends, okay, you go out drinking or places where there's alcohol involved, be mindful of where you set your drink. Don't accept drinks from strangers, okay, because you never know if they might have put GHB or some other type of narcotic inside the drink. Do what your parents told you from the beginning. Don't take rides from strangers. Groups are always better than being by yourself, and that's pretty much it.
And being observant.
And being observant of your surroundings.
And if you don't be walking, playing with your phone and all this and letting everything else happen around you, try to be observant and find out what's going on around you. That way, if you notice somebody pulls up, near you or anything like that, you do what you need to get away.
Okay, and then what happens to predators after a child is found like alive, or like if the child is dead and they found out that the predator that took them, like that he actually committed the crime of abduction of the child?
Okay, just ask that one more time.
So
I think she's saying after the suspect's been caught, basically.
Okay, the suspect's been caught. It really depends on the circumstances of the, say, abduction, okay? Because you can have, we talked about missing people and everything else. So if we're actually talking about an actual abduction right now, which is, it's called kidnapping, okay? It's gonna depend on what happened to, say, for instance, a child, okay? First of all, he's gonna be charged with kidnapping, okay, right off the bat, okay, which is a felony in the state of Texas, so he's gonna go to jail, okay? And then, God forbid, but if something happened or he did something, sexually assaulted the child or anything like that, he's also going to be charged with that. He's definitely going to do some jail time. Okay, jail, probation. He's going to have his day in court. And if he did do anything sexual to the child, okay, he's going to be, a sex offender. He'll go to the sex offender database pretty much for the rest of his life.
So would he be categorized, or like would it say something like a sexual predator, like if he didn't do anything but he abducted the child, like after he got out of jail?
Well, you can't be categorized as a sexual offender unless you actually committed a sexual crime, okay? Rape, touching a child inappropriately, exposing yourself to a child inappropriately.
Photographs.
Photographs, child pornography, if they were taking pictures of the child, selling on the internet, videos of the child. If you abduct a child, there's not a database that you put in like this is the kidnapper database. Like when we run a sex offender, okay, even if we stop them on a traffic stop, okay, it's going to come up as a hit as a sex offender, okay, and that's for our information. Like if we stop them like right outside a park, or it's a suspicious vehicle, or there's somewhere where they're not supposed to be, we can take action, okay. For us to know that he's been arrested for kidnapping, okay, we'll have to check his criminal history, okay, which majority of officers are going to when they come in contact with a person. We're gonna run you, see what you've been arrested for in the past, and it'll always be on his criminal record, if he was charged with it, all right. You know, if there's something else going on, like, you know, it was, you know, parental dispute, you'll get a lot of that, you know, when going through divorces, all right, and, you know, one parent will take take the child, and, you know, try to leave with the child. And as long as they're still together, you know, and not divorced, I mean, you can't kidnap your own child, okay, so, you know, he won't even be charged. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's all of my questions. Thank
Okay.
you for your time.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.